Hello everyone, welcome to the weekly Pebble Penny coin news video. My name is Mark. I run the Pebble Penny coin shop with my wife Catherine, who's over there doing her weekend mailing. We're in the northern suburbs of Adelaide and we've been having these videos for coming up to 2 years now. Something that we try to fit in every Monday at lunchtime here in Adelaide. Last week in the shop was quite busy. We had the mint release last Thursday. The Royal Australian Mint releases all their new products on the first Thursday of the month. And last week we saw the Platinum Jubilee coins for the Queen, because of course it's 70 years that she's been sitting on the throne, and the first in the Beauty Rich and Rare series, which was the Barrier Reef coloured dome coin, which was very popular. This week coming up, of course, we've got the Great Aussie Coin Hunt being released by Australia Post this week, and I believe that some of those products are available through the Royal Australian Mint. We'll have tubes and albums this week, I hope. We haven't had any shipping confirmation from Australia Post yet, so I can't be 100% certain about that. So let's just jump into the news. So as I said, we've got a Great Aussie Coin Hunt 3. Of course, there's a coloured coin in the collection this year. One tubes in 10 has a coloured coin in it. You'll know if it's in there because it'll be on top. And of course, they are already selling for a bit of a premium, sort of $150 to $200. People seem to be getting for those already. Hopefully, all of you out there managed to get one of those at release price. If you do come in and pick up a tube from here in the shop, be prepared for Catherine to try to encourage you to open it in front of her so she can see if you get one. The May Royal Australian Mint release is run and done. I guess the pick of the releases this week, last week, was the Great Barrier Reef dome coloured coin. I don't quite understand why we got so few of them. The wholesale allocation of the Great Barrier Reef coin and the Queen's Platinum Jubilee silver proof coin were about the same, but we got 3 times as many of the Queen's coins as we did for the Gold Coast coin, the Barrier Reef coins. So, you know, unfortunately, people that came in at just 10:30 were already sold out, which is kind of disappointing. But if you did manage to get one, do hang on to it. I suspect that it will be a bit of a sleeper, especially if it's the first in the series. The first in the series tend to do better than the subsequent coins. So congratulations to those of you who got one. As I've done over the last few weeks, I've done a bit of a look at what the B coins are selling for. The B release was in April. And of course there were mint rolls and C mint mark coins on cards, and you can see the sorts of prices that they're fetching there. Now they've kind of leveled off now, which is interesting. I still don't quite understand why the prices have surged the way they do when you consider that the number issued was 50% higher than the previous release, but never mind. Those of you who managed to get them at release and sell them for a profit, good on you. And we'll just say a few hellos here. Hello Paul, Gwen, John, Ash, Brendan, Russell, Mike and Jason. Of course, on the day that the Mint releases their new products, they announce the releases of next month's products. There's a great big long list for next month, and there's a few sort of annual releases that they do every year, plus there's a bit of a follow-up on the 3-coin Banjo Patterson set that was released a year ago. So, no, that's not the right one. Here we go. So, great big long list of releases there. We've got the Commonwealth Games series. Of course, the Commonwealth Games are going to be this year, I guess. Yeah, they'll be this year. So there's a gold-plated 50 cent for $25. There's a half-ounce silver-coloured proof coin for $80. There's a coloured dollar for $17.50. So there's 3 different Commonwealth game releases there. I imagine that they'll do another release through Woolworths, I guess, for $2 coins. They've done that, seem to do that. So I wonder if they'll do the same through Woolworths. That's something to think about. Then we've got the annual lunar coins there in silver and gold. We've got the annual silver and gold proof sets there. If you do want one of those, please do just let us know and we'll try and get one of those in for you. And then the second part of the releases here, we're on to the follow-up to the Banjo Patterson 3-coin set with the Henry Lawson 3-coin set. So there's 3 coins there struck in aluminium bronze, so it's an off-metal strike. The 3 coins are available individually for $20 each, and then there's the 3-coin collection for slightly less, which is $55. I try not to sort of offer my opinion on the releases, but it's a fairly underwhelming set of releases this month. Just internally inside the shop here, people have expressed the most interest in the Commonwealth Games coloured dollar coin. That seems to be the one that most people are interested in. The Henry Lawson set will be interesting because the packaging will have to be different to the Banjo Patterson set, because they will put the coins into sort of hard plastic capsules rather than the little caplets that they were in previously. Anyway, we don't know what the mintages of any of these things are, but I guess if you're a 50-cent collector, it's probably a good month for you. If you're a dollar coin collector, I guess you've got to make sure you get that Commonwealth Game coin there. Right, that's it for June RAM releases. Now the last thing on the news here was something that was really interesting. Castlemaine, or Castlemaine, depending on what part of the country you come from, in Victoria, is releasing a tourist currency, which I thought was really interesting, and it's a currency that you can buy from the local tourist office and a few other places, and then there's 8 or 10 businesses inside the town that are accepting that currency. The aim is to try and keep the tourist dollars inside the town rather than have them leave the town. Now, I don't really quite understand how this is going to work. If you accept these clay coins, how are you going to get paid? I'm not quite sure how that works, but 10% of the proceeds is going to be given to charity. And what is really interesting about the coins is that they are made from porcelain, so they're a twice fired porcelain coin. They come in 2 denominations, $10 and $50. So you can see pictures of the coins there. The 1 token is for $10 and the 5 token is for $50. So you can head into Castlemaine to the tourist office or to the local artist collective and buy those coins. And as I said, there's 8 or 10 businesses in the town that will accept them as currency. Quite an interesting thing. I probably would like to get my hands on one of them, just to say that we've had one. And porcelain coins aren't, believe it or not, aren't that unusual. They have happened in Asia before. I can think of Japanese had porcelain coins that were made from ceramic. There were German note geld coins at the end of World War I that were made from ceramic, and I've seen some fired porcelain tokens from other parts of Asia as well. So a really interesting little initiative done by the Chamber of Commerce in Castlemaine in Victoria, and if you are up that way, it might be a good chance to grab one of those for yourself. That was kind of my highlight for the news this week. I was very pleased to see that was happening. Right, we'll just address a few more comments here. Hello Edward Blackwood, how are you? Glennis says she's not really interested in the RAM releases this time. Tanya, hello. John, does the 3-coin set come with a folder similar to first issued? As far as we know, John, yes, that's how the Henry Lawson set will be coming. The 3-coin set will be in some sort of packaging. As I said, it will be different packaging to the Banjo Patterson coins, because the coins are in sort of much bigger plastic capsules rather than the little sort of plastic caplets that they were in previously. Hello Ben, hello Ash, hello Andrew, hello everyone from the Gravy Train who's watching, Dillis, and Ben. Ben has asked a question here. Unk incused 2,050 cent rough value, please, Mark. Less than $500. That would be my rough value, something less than $500. Probably, $200 or $300, I would have thought. the market on those has really softened off in the last few years because I think people have moved onto other things that interest them a bit more, which is kind of a shame because it's one of the Incuse 50 cent is one of the varieties that you can find in your change. I got one in my change from a shopping centre once, and it is something that is worth looking out for. Right, topic of the week. Now this is a request from Greg Gibbons, who's one of the admins of the Gravy Train group. He asked me to have a look at coin collar errors, and I thought that I'd do this in two episodes. This week we'll just be looking at what the coin collar is and understanding how that works, and then next week we'll be looking at some of the errors that happened because of the failure of that. Now, Gwen says she's a potter. Maybe she'll make some coins. Well, Gwen, actually the news articles I read did address the issue of counterfeiting the porcelain coins that are being made, and they kind of suggested that the work involved in counterfeiting them would probably be much more than the value that the face value that they have, and that's probably correct. I guess counterfeiting, where the benefit comes is if you can produce a whole bunch of them for a low cost. So yeah. Hello Scott, how are you? Right, coin collars. So this is a coin die, 50 cent coin die. This is another coin die, a 10 cent coin die. This is a 1 cent coin die. Now, you are almost certainly aware that a coin is struck between two dies. So we take an anvil die, which is the die at the bottom, which generally doesn't move very much, and then a hammer die, which comes down and strikes the coin in between. Something like that. Now, you can imagine a coin as being a soft, squishy piece of plasticine. If we just had the two dies coming down and squashing them like this, you'd end up with the metal bulging out the side. And the solution to that bulging and that in an effort to get consistently shaped and sized coins, coin presses use a collar die, and a collar die in its most simplistic form is a disc of metal that sits around the anvil die, the die at the bottom, and constrains the coin from spreading out too much. Now, those of you who know anything about ancient coins or hammered coins will know that the size of those varies all over the place, because when they're struck, they're just whacked between two dies like this, and they spread out every which way. They're not necessarily round, they're certainly not all the same shape, and often not all the design is present because they are struck off center. So what we'll do is we'll just actually have a look at a basic schematic of what a coin die might look like, a coin press might look like, and this is an image that is I'm allowed to use under the Creative Commons license. It's from that article, which you can see at the bottom there, and thanks to the authors for allowing people to use that image. So we can see there we've got a die at the bottom, which is the anvil die, and we've got a die at the top, which is the hammer die, and the hammer die hits against the anvil die, and there's a metal disc that runs around the anvil die, and it doesn't take too much imagination to understand that the coin blank comes in and it sits in that nice little pocket there in the collar against the anvil die and gets struck, gets squished out until it's against the collar die. It can't spread out any further than that, and you end up with a nice coin that's the same size as pretty much as every other coin that those dies strike. So the collar is actually a die, it's the third die. And of course, for some coins, it doesn't do anything other than constrain the flow of the metal of the coin. But then we can actually use it to apply a design to the edge of a coin. And that is how you get edge reading or edge graining on the edge of a coin. So this is a collar die from a US 25 cent or a quarter. This comes from that website there, Moonlight Mint. Good website actually if you want to go and have a look. So they obtained this collar die when they bought a whole bunch of obsolete machinery from the US Mint, and if you look at that hole in the middle of that collar die there, you can see that it's got reading on it. So when quarters are struck, they get squished and they get forced out into the edge of the collar die there, and you get edge graining or edge reading or milling on the coin. If you're here in Australia and you're watching this, you'll know, of course, that $1 and $2 coins have what's called interrupted edge milling. So the edge milling doesn't go all the way around, it just appears in little groups. And the collar dies for those, of course, have graining engraved onto them in little groups around the inside of the collar die, and that is applied to the coins when they're struck. Now you might be wondering how a 50-cent collar looks like, because of course what it actually looks like, because of course a 50-cent piece which is struck by a die that looks like this is not round. Okay, it's obviously not round. So what does a collar die from that look like? Well, I'm glad you asked, because when Catherine went to the mint several years ago, they actually had a display of coin errors there, and you can see there a 50-cent piece inside of a collar die for the 50-cent piece. So it's that distinctive dodecagonal shape. Now you can probably also notice some cracks in that collar die, and that of course is because this collar die is broken. The plaque that was on this particular display, Catherine says it said that 2 blanks were actually fed into the collar die at once, and they were struck with force that was transmitted out to the collar die, and because there's too much metal in there, the collar die actually fractured. So that's by the by, but that's what a collar die for a 50-cent piece looks like. Now there are, there are 3 types of collar errors that you typically see on coins, and there's a bit of work to be done around the terminology of which one is which, and we'll talk about that next week. But what I will finish off with today is this thing here, which is what if the coin blank is too big to fit into the collar die? Now what happens then? So we get a coin blank that gets put into the coin press, and if we just jump back to this collar die schematic here, basically mechanically the way that this works is that the collar die moves up and down. So it moves down out of the way when a new blank is fed in, and the blank is fed in by perhaps a feeder finger or something like that. A feeder finger is a disc with a series of notches cut into the edge that just spins around and feeds blanks in. So the feeder finger feeds a blank into the collar die, and then the collar die rises, the coin is struck, and then the collar die sinks, and then the feeder finger comes around and takes the struck coin out. So that's basically how the mechanics of it work. So if we jump to our what if slide again, what if the coin blank is too big to actually fit into that collar die? Now why would it be too big? It would be too big because it's missed one of the processes. It hasn't been put through an edge rimming machine, and most blanks are edge rimmed before they're struck. And that of course decreases the diameter of those blanks. If it's missed that process, then the diameter will be too large to fit into that collar die. So what happens if that coin blank is too big? The next thing to think about is what happens if the coin blank might be the right size, but it is not located properly into the collar die. So it's actually offset to one side of the collar die. Okay, or it's offset to the top or to the bottom, but it's not actually sitting in that collar die nicely. What happens to a coin when that happens? And the last one to think about here is what happens if that collar die fails to actually rise back up. As I mentioned, the collar die will drop down, a blank is fed in, it'll rise up, the coin is struck, the collar die drops back down, the coin is taken away. What happens if the collar die actually fails to rise back up when the blank is fed in? So there's 3 types of errors that can happen from each of those, and next week we'll have a look at what they are. Right, that's it for today. If we've got any more questions here, I don't think we do. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in today. Thanks to Greg for offering up a suggestion on what we should talk about. If anyone does have any other questions about coins, it doesn't matter how simple they are, how complicated they are, we'll do our best to answer them for you. Thanks everyone for watching. Please do have a great week, and happy collecting, and we will see you next week. Bye for now.